Shalom. All praises to the Most High. Hanoka said, praise be to the earthly mother, the Pachamama, and all of her earthly angels, the Erikadeshoi. Praise be to the Holy Spirit, the Kahe, in the name of his only begotten Son, Motsah the Lamb, unification to the nation. Oh my goodness. That's all I have to say, man. I'm truly stunned at how important this great conjunction actually is. Because the more I look into it, the more I'm realizing how much I overlooked it. This is like I'm shaking. I'm shaking. I'm not even exaggerating, bro. This stuff is very, very serious. And it's something that our ancestors and our cousins and brothers knew. The Mayans, our forefathers, our forebrothers, they were tracking the conjunctions. The 2012 is a complete and utter lie. A complete and utter lie. They were never on that schedule. So I'm just going to try to start from the beginning. There's a lot of information. It's not a long video, but it's a lot of information. And I'm going to try my best. So this is one of those videos you might have to watch again. But Big Judah brought out this date in a book that I ordered, but it's not going to get here until the 16th, so I'm not depending on it. So that led me to want to look into this further, because as for those who have been on my channel, you know that I'm kind of researching into India right now, and I'm kind of suspecting that many of the really old stuff, like pre-flood and even post-flood, regarding ancient Mesopotamia, ancient Elam, I believe that those things occurred in that sunken land that was underneath India, in Kamari Kingdom. So for them to have the oldest date, and for the Mayans to be connected with ancient India, it would make so much sense. Because the Mayans predicted this exact, not this exact date, but around this date. They did. So now before let me clear up any confusion about the Great Conjunction, because the conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter occurs every 20 years. It doesn't come every 400 years. It comes at its closest point every 400 years. And other planets also align with it. So it's almost like the greatest of the conjunctions, that it occurs every 400 years. And it's usually a changing of the guard, if you will. So that's what I just wanted to mention. Now we're going to get into it again. But let's get into the Mayan calendar. So the Mayan calendar, it is known for having, let's see, I believe it has 20 days in a month, right? And it has 18 months. 20 times 18 equals 360. And then they have 5 extra days, and they call those the bad luck days, according to what they're saying. I don't know what that truly means, but I'm not going to throw it out. Right? I'm not going to throw it out. So that's what they have, right? Now they also have a Baktun. And this is pretty much 20 years. So every 20 years is a Baktun. Right? So they're tracking things every 20 years. How often do the conjunctions of Saturn and Jupiter happen? Every 20 years. A Baktun is every 20 Baktuns. So that's 400 years. A Baktun is 400 years. How many days is it? 144,000. And we are approaching the end of the 13th Baktun. I'll just say Baktun. I know I'm saying it incorrectly, but I'm not going to go through all that. We're approaching the last one in about 11 days. And I'm just freaking out right now because I'm like, bro, this is very serious. Now, if you pretty much times 400, I'm guessing 400 times 13, you should be able to get this many years, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But if you do the math, you get this year, 5,000 2,125 years. Now, because we have the concept of BC, right? We have to subtract 2,000 years from that. And what do we get? 3,125. What was the time period? 3,100 BC. So that was when I guess they came off the ark, pretty much. That's what it was. And I believe it says in the Adam and Eve books. I mentioned this before, but it said that Yaatsequad and Kawa, they left the garden I'm sorry, I'm blanking out. Okay, that's not. They would be able to come back into the garden. That's what I really wanted to say. They would be able to come back into the garden, in 5,500 years. Right? That's 400 years after this time. So at the 400-year mark, a flood happens. So from them leaving the garden to the flood seems to have been 400 years. Then the earth starts back up again, and this is our year. It's aligning so perfectly, bro. It's aligning so perfectly, and it's like, oh my goodness. So the Mayans were tracking the great conjunctions as well as the other conjunctions because something seems to happen every 20 years. We're going to go over this. Something significant happens every 20 years. And something significant happens every 400 years of those 20 years. For example, Jupiter has a Sidonic period of 398.8 days from Earth. Thus, Jupiter's opposition occurs once roughly every 13 months. I'm sorry, I'm thinking of other things while I'm reading. So it happens pretty much every 400 years. You know, the Jupiter, it's Sidonic period, right? We went over that in the last video. So just I don't want anyone to get lost, right? We're pretty much on the right track. I'm just speechless. I'm sorry. Let me slow down. Speechless, man. All right. So something happens every 20 years and something big happens every 400 years. Right? And there's something that's supposed to happen within the last, 800 years of this age. And it just keeps getting worse and worse. So at the 1200 year point, that is when the age of impiety starts. At the 800 year point, I believe that's when probably our takedown starts. I don't know. I really don't know what happened in the Middle Ages. They're lying about a lot of things. But it does actually seem like the years are correct. I'm just not sure when Hamashiach actually got crucified. I'm not necessarily sure. It could have been 800 years ago or 2,000 years ago. I'm not necessarily sure at this point. But either way, it would have been on a 400-year mark. So as you can see, they've had conjunctions every 20 years since, right? The 1800s, 1820, 1840, 1860. And what I've actually noticed is that something occurred almost every single time. Whether it was a war, whether it was something catastrophic, an earthquake, people predicting the end of the world. The people who, or I guess the dude who translated the Book of Remembrance, he was saying, oh, the world's going to end in 1980. He was saying that. I guess there's almost like a Armageddon spirit that comes on people every 20 years. And of course, we know about this, right? We know about the 2000, right? How everyone was like, oh, the world's going to end. Now, what makes this any different? Well, what makes this time different is that the prophecy is all lining up. Hey, didn't they try to pull out their vaccine this time about 100 years ago? They tried to do the same thing. But the thing is that they're pretty much gearing up every 20 years. It's almost like playing Russian roulette. because they're not necessarily sure, but they have an idea because they understand who the Mayans were. They understand what date they actually predicted. They're not stupid. They know what date that they really predicted. But, they just threw out a lie so, they can disarm people. Because they don't want people to know their validity. Notice, none of these dates are on the 21st except for this one of December, which happens to be the exact date that the Mayans predicted, except it was 2012. Nah, it wasn't 2012. That was a whole lie. And look, the flood of 1524. Like, there's always something happening in the 20s, the 40s, the 60s, the 80s, or the zeros. There's always something happening, right? It's always something. I'll leave this in the description. Now, I was looking into some other articles, and let me see. So the Chinese, they pretty much stole the idea, and I don't know what type of Chinese these are. I don't know if these were the Northern Kingdom or some other group of people, but it seems like they stole the idea of the conjunctions from, the people of India during that time. And this person, he asserted that the perfect year began with a conjunction of all the planets. Soon after, the Babylonian Paracelsus introduced the theory that the world, having begun with a conjunction of planets, would end with another. See, this is something that's known worldwide. Everyone knows about the conjunctions. They've known about it all throughout history. This is another thing I will leave in the description. So you guys can check out these articles. Let me say one more. The Chinese astrologers, in contrast, never evinced much interest in speculation about future trends or in planetary conjunction cycles, even after persistent exposure to Indian and Persian astrology's vast cycles of time and their associated conjunctionist theories. So again, they never did it before, until they saw probably the effects of it. Or I don't know why they did it. That's just my guess. Let's move on. An amazing discovery of an asteroid that hit the Earth in 3120 BCE. See, they're always talking about an asteroid. Now, it makes sense why they say that an asteroid killed the dinosaurs. They're not, see? They're not that wrong. But what did the asteroid cause? It caused a flood. Right? It never said how they caused the flood. An asteroid hit it before. Is an asteroid coming down to cause something else? Is that what that planet Nibiru is? I just have a lot more questions, man. Jupiter and Saturn conjunctions. The outer planets visible to the naked eye, Jupiter and Saturn, especially their conjunctions, play a central role in the Zoroastrian astrology, which is Persian, of the world. Some authors, such as this dude, state it was the Persians who first developed the astrological use of the cycle of Jupiter-Saturn conjunctions. These exotic chronologies traveled well and made as profound an impact on astronomy and astrology in Judea and the Christian West as they did throughout the vast Muslim empire. Okay. Now, their Persia, what they're saying is Persia is not Persia. So, that's probably talking about India, actually. Which would make sense as, a lot of stuff comes from India or it came from, really Mesoamerica, but it's kind of interchangeable because they're not going to give you a date on anything in the Americas. It can be that much older, and it is usually that much older, but they'll never give you a date. But even so, I think that things, like, it did start in the Pacifics anyway. Let me see. The astrologers have tried to correct these years, beginning from the first of the conjunctions of Saturn and Jupiter, for which the sagas among the inhabitants of Babel and the Chaldeans have constructed astronomical tablets, the deluge having originated in their country. See, this stuff, what happened during the Tower of Babel, the judgment occurred on one of these conjunctions. So this is usually what happens. Judgment usually comes. And as the brother BJ been saying, well, not been saying, but what he said in the last video, this is how people get swept off of lands. Let me see if there's anything else. In Abu Mashar's system, the situation is different because there is a conjunction in the middle of his great year. His numbers of revolutions for Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, and the Moon must be even. See, I spoke about that the Moon is on a certain cycle, and it's usually on that 400-year cycle as well. See, the Moon is not only like Jupiter and Saturn, because Jupiter and Saturn conjoin every 20 years. But there's also the Moon involved, and as this just said, Mars is involved as well. So a bunch of planets conjoin. It's not just Jupiter, Saturn, and Jupiter. And plus, this is close, so they're seen as one singular star. You can't tell the difference. In other conjunctions, you can see, all right, well, they're close, but they're not close enough for me not to be able to tell. No, this is too close to tell whether it's one or two stars. You only pretty much can only see one star. If one of the numbers is increased by 2, the mean longitude for AD 799 is increased by, okay, but point is that this another conjunction, a great conjunction, a great year, whatever, happened during the 800s pretty much. So every 400 years you have the 800s, 1200s, 1600s, 2000s, right? Every great year. Now listen to this. Now here's why these great Jupiter-Saturn conjunctions happen every 20 years. Each year, Saturn completes about 12 degrees of its orbit around the Sun, whereas Jupiter completes about 30. Therefore, in 1 year, Jupiter closes the gap between itself and Saturn by about 18 degrees. In a period of 20 years, then Jupiter gains 360 degrees on Saturn, 18 times 20, just like the Mayan calendar. Therefore, lapping the ringed planet once every 20 years. So the Mayans were watching this and they were tracking this to track the end of the world, because their calendar stopped on this date, bro. Their calendar stopped on this date, and they tried to nullify these people. They tried to nullify our brothers. Let's not let their genius die because of what the heathen have done. Oh my goodness, bro. This is the Great Conjunction, bro. The Great Conjunction. I don't know why this is doubling. I mean, this is blocking. Okay, well, let's just go to the next one. If there's anything. Is there anything left to read? No. That's pretty much what I had, man. So, if you got nothing from this, the Mayans predicted that in about 11 days, everything is ending, because they literally didn't bother to make any more of their calendar. They did not bother doing it. They knew that this would be the end. They knew it. You know what? Before I end the video, let me see if I could find that Adam and Eve precept real quick. It's all coming together, man. Oh, man. First we had the age of impiety, now this. Okay. Life of Adam and Eve, I believe this is it. Yeah, I think that might be, might not be, I don't know. We'll find out. No, this is not it. I have to look. Maybe if I type it in here. Oh, the Forgotten Books of Eden, that's what it was. Okay. And said to Adam, O Adam, all this misery which thou hast brought upon thyself will not avail against my rule, neither will it alter the covenant of the 5,500 years. He is a covenant. When the 5,500 years are fulfilled, after these things, the word of God came to Adam and said unto him, O Adam, as to the fruit of the tree of life, for which thou askest, I will not give to thee, but when the 5,500 years are fulfilled, then will I give thee of the fruit of the tree of life, and thou shalt eat and live forever, thou and Eve and thy righteous seed. Man. I don't even know what to say, man. I don't know if you guys are convinced. I mean, there's nothing that you could really convince me of unless the Most High really, really shows me. But I'm pretty swayed, I must say, man. I must say. Oh man. All right. So if you have any questions, just let me know in the comment section, and I'll try my best to answer them. May peace be with you. Selah Kala.